This is this is just an unplanned rap. Uh, uh, Buddy of Greta, the climate change girl in foreign England named George Monbiot, twittered today about magical thinking, why it should be avoided. And I want to remind you that this is on behalf of the Robert Fripp School of Thought that refused to fact check my investigation and tried to destroy every amount of evidence, engaged in paramount magical thinking. So it's a rail against magical thinking in defense of supra magical thinking. Well, let me give you some background. I'm old enough to remember Discovery 66. It was on TV back in the day when I was 5. And it was classy, but somewhat public education directed, so sort of slow and informative and boring. Public education TV was notorious for being onerous. And this was a statement. I mean, not until Al Gore's Inconvenient Truth did Hollywood show the magnanimity to deign to make something informational and engaging. This was, of course, the death of the movement of the Kennedy scene. Public education was squashed. Well, in came the Rolling Stones and their cousins of squash lieutenancy. You had bizarre alliances between people like David Bowie, who would crow how he broke the gentle hearts of many young virgins. And he would form these foot stomping, peculiar alliances with people like Patrick Buchanan. And they would have, and the peasant army came to lambast for Robert Fripp. I mean, I remember when um, before the weapons of mass destruction thing with Fripp and Colin Powell in 60 Minutes, I visited Claymont School for Continuous Education. I left my name, telephone number, the nature of my request, and whom I wish to speak to. And, they were all jumped down, whole pee-pee, were going to a redneck bar. I mean, it was only a towny bar. I mean, but the tendency to exaggerate their blessedness harks back to Southern man bigotry, the infantilism of the indefeatable bigot. I mean, Proctor used to fall for this, a black man at WQED, supposedly education. He would tell us a story. He had a pistol he put on his lap in his rocking chair. I mean, he wanted to be the sacred bigot, and he wanted to join the Confederacy. He talked about meeting with Paul or the trip dude who made Hitler Reagan's Federal Emergency Management Agency Constitution. Mombi, I'll get to Mombi because he's jumped down whole peepee. He defending Hitler Reagan. This is what his magical thinking stuff is about. He Proctor would talk about who. Oh, I've seen. It wasn't just Proctor. Anybody who was held in the Covenant of Westmoreland's foreign policy brouhaha would be cast with a great expression, and their voices would lower with command and control and solemn responsibility. And it was a bunch of bullshit. I mean, if I was just voting out for myself, I wouldn't vote for Robert Kennedy. But all things being equal, I think he's the best person for the job. But while he's up there playing his, I'm not gonna do like that and stuff. Um, I'd like to thank the illegal immigrants who've come to rescue America for democracy. Thank you. Well, anyway, the idea is that this circle of insider, ever increasingly more obsessed with what Tolkien called the seduction by the study of power into corruption. Not so many words, maybe. Well, and they say the Monbiot's, in other words, I want to get to Monbiot and Hitler Reagan because that's what he's doing. He's paraphrasing G. Gordon Liddy. George Monbiot and G. Gordon Liddy have the same Paul McCartney take on things. I said, people get wowed by your persuasion of Liddy, but it's like the voice of Saruman, they're taken in. Somebody needs to laugh at you to break the spell. And he said, that's the problem with people like you. You live in a fantasy world. And I want to get to this now. Because Penis Fripp wrote to Carnegie Mellon University, Alternative Conflict Resolution, when Gregor Morgan and Martha Hardy Schatz were mongering me and the International Peace and Security seminars. And they said no qualitative changes in human nature. In other words, this isn't public education. When somebody puts up an antenna with magical thinking, a poet puts up an antenna with magical thinking, comes at me with lightning. See my spinner meanie? They don't see what's really going on, which is a Pittsburgh public school student praying for legitimate education, particularly in ecological sciences. What they see is somebody who's imitating them and who linguistic anthropology with Brian Eno control boards is going to prove is an imitator. That's what they see. And Philippi Toon had been talking about qualitative changes in human nature. You're not supposed to think that way. Because if you do, you're not thinking for yourself. Nah. And they sent in this dude named Walter who told me a Gertie parable. He brought sheep to consciousness. What did he do with them? He ate them. Because what good are they if they didn't come to consciousness on their own? So don't give anybody a finger because they're looking for a chance to hit you blindside. Put your thumb down. Say this to them. Down. I voted down. I don't want to fight about it. I voted down. Thank you, illegal immigrants, for coming to America to rescue us for democracy. Robert Kennedy, I'll vote for you, but get the message.